Hello dear children, welcome back. I am Dr. Jisha Joe. In this session, we shall discuss a few more multiple choice questions from the chapter Genetics. So moving on with the first question. Question number 16. The number of autosomes in a human sperm. Sperm is the male gamete. We know the number of chromosomes in a human being is 46 or 23 pairs, isn't it? So during gamete formation, what is the type of cell division that is taking place? It is meiosis. What is the peculiarity of the cell division here? The chromosome number is getting reduced to half. So what is the total number of chromosomes in a human sperm? It is 23. Okay. Now here the question is number of autosomes in a human sperm. Look at the option. What are autosomes? Before moving on to the options, what are autosomes? Autosomes are chromosomes that determine the bodily features or somatic features. Okay, so now move on to the options. Option A 23, B 20, C 22 and D 23 pairs. Which is the correct answer? The total number of chromosomes in a human sperm is 23, half the number of chromosomes in a human body. 23. Number of autosomes, how many autosomes will be present? Out of the 23 chromosomes that are present, 22 will be autosomes and 1 will be the sex chromosome, which may be either an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. So what is the number of autosomes in a human sperm? The correct answer is option C, 22. Next question. Solid circle in a pedigree chart represents. We know a circle represents a female. In a pedigree chart, a circle represents a female and a male is represented by a square. Here a solid circle, circles may be shaded circles are also called as solid circles, okay, whereas the other type of circle is the hollow circle, which we have in our syllabus. So only two types of circles or squares we are studying in 10th standard, the hollow squares or circles and the solid or shaded circles and squares. Here the question is solid circle in a pedigree chart represents. Options are normal male, affected male, option C normal female and option D affected female. So what is the correct answer? A solid circle in a pedigree chart represents, circle represents a female and solid circle will be an affected female. Okay, an affected female will be represented by a solid circle in a pedigree chart, whereas a hollow circle represents a normal female. So if a person or if a woman or female is a tongue roller is a normal character. If the female is a tongue roller, she will be shown by a hollow circle. If she is a non-roller, that is she is an affected individual, she will be represented by a solid or a shaded circle. Okay, solid circle in a pedigree chart represents affected female. Next question. If father is a homozygous tongue roller and mother a heterozygous tongue roller, what will be the genotype of the offsprings? Okay, homozygous tongue roller, the genotype is already given, capital R. Homozygous tongue roller, father is a homozygous tongue roller and mother, what is the genotype? It is already given in the question. Mother is, the genotype is capital R, small r. She is, both father and mother are tongue rollers, but father is homozygous, mother is heterozygous. Okay, now what are the gametes produced? Father produces all the gametes containing capital R. All the gametes produced by the father will have capital R. Whereas what about mother? Mother produces two types of gametes. Half of it will contain capital R and the other half will contain small r. So now let us draw the Punnett square. The gametes of one parent, father, along one side and the gametes of the other parent along the other side. Capital R, small r. These are the gametes of the mother. Okay, now the genotypes of the offsprings are written in the subsquares. So what will be the genotype? Capital R, capital R. Here capital R, capital R. Here this will be capital R, small r. This will be capital R, small r. So look at the question. What will be the genotype of the offsprings? What are the genotypes of the offsprings? Capital R, and capital R, small r. Two types of offsprings. All the offsprings are tongue rollers. Half of them will be homozygous tongue rollers and the remaining half will be heterozygous tongue rollers. So look at the options now. Option A, capital R, capital R, small r, small r, small r. Option B, capital R, small r only. Option C, capital R, and capital R, small r. Option D, capital R, small r, and small r, small r. So what is the correct answer? The correct answer is option C, capital R, and capital R, small r. Next question. Which among the following is the monohybrid phenotypic ratio in F2 generation? Okay, we just have the monohybrid cross alone this year in our syllabus. So you should know that the monohybrid phenotypic ratio in the F2 generation is phenotype. What is phenotype? Phenotype is the usual, the expressed character is the phenotype. Okay, so the monohybrid phenotypic ratio in the F2 generation is 3:1. Okay, options are 1:3, 3:1, 1:2:1, and 2:2. The correct answer is option B, 3:1. And what is 1:2:1? 1:2:1 is the monohybrid genotypic ratio. Okay, genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. Okay, and the phenotypic ratio is 3:1. So the correct answer is option B, 3:1. Next question. Question 20. Which among the following is a dominant trait for the character seed color? We know Mendel has selected 7 different characters for seed color. Do you remember which are the 7 characters that Mendel selected or which he studied in Garden P? They are flower color, seed shape, pod color, pod shape, flower position, and the height of the plant. These are the 7 characters and their dominant and recessive traits. You should be familiar with all the 7 characters along with their dominant and recessive traits. Okay, so here the question is, which among the following is a dominant trait for the character seed color in Garden P? Okay, the seed color, the character seed color has 2 different traits, the dominant trait and the recessive trait. The dominant trait is the yellow seed color and the recessive trait is the green seed color. So look at the options. Option A, purple. Option B, white. Option C, green. Option D, yellow. So the correct answer is option D, yellow. The dominant trait for the character seed color in Garden P is yellow. Next question. Which among the following is the possible progeny in the F1 generation of a pure breeding tall and dwarf plant? So here to find the progeny in the F1 generation of a pure breeding tall and a dwarf plant. So a pure breeding tall means it will be in the homozygous condition. Okay, a pure breeding means the genotype will be the homozygous condition. So we will be taking the English alphabet T. So pure breeding tall, the genotype will be capital T, capital T. It's crossed with a dwarf plant. Dwarf is a recessive trait for the character plant height. Okay, and always remember dwarfness or the recessive trait is expressed in the homozygous condition. Okay, that is why we are writing small t as the genotype. So the pure breeding tall plant will have the genotype capital T, and the dwarf plant will have the genotype small t. What are the gametes produced by the tall plant? All the gametes produced will have capital T. What about the dwarf plant? All the gametes produced will have small t. Okay, so fusion of the two gametes will produce the F1 generation. That is the F1 generation, the first filial generation. So what is the answer? The fusion of the two gametes will produce the F1 generation, which have the genotype capital T, small t. Okay, now look at the options. All tall plants, all dwarf plants, tall and dwarf plants, intermediate between tall and dwarf. Which is the correct answer? What among the following which among the following is the possible progeny in the F1 generation of a pure breeding tall and dwarf plant? So what is the phenotype? That is the genotype, capital T, small t. What will be the phenotype? The expressed feature, all the plants will be tall. So the correct answer is option A, all tall plants. Okay. Next question. Which among the following is not a character selected by Mendel for his experimental studies? Options are seed shape, leaf shape, pod color, flower position. So in one of the previous questions I have mentioned about the different characters that Mendel selected or Mendel studied. So which among the following is not a character? Which is not a character that was selected by Mendel? The correct answer is option B, leaf shape. Next question. What will be the possible genotype of the offsprings of a normal woman and a color-blind man? What is the peculiarity of color blindness? Color blindness is an X-linked trait. Color blindness is due to a recessive gene that is located on the X chromosome. Okay, so here the parents are normal woman and colorblind man. So a normal woman is represented by XX, isn't it? And a normal man will be represented by XY. Hope there is no doubt in that. That will be a normal, XX will be a normal woman and a normal man will be XY. And we also know that a woman who is a carrier or who is a colorblind woman. A colorblind woman, what will be the genotype of the colorblind woman? Woman to be colorblind, the gene for color blindness should be present on both the X chromosomes. Okay, because we know the color blindness is due to a recessive gene. So when is it expressed? When is a recessive gene expressed? Only in the homozygous condition. So if a woman needs to be colorblind, she should have the gene on both the X chromosomes. So that will be a colorblind woman. Okay, this is a normal woman, this is a normal man, and that is a colorblind woman. What about a carrier woman? A carrier woman will have the gene for color blindness only on one X chromosome. Okay, that means she will not be color blind, but she will be a carrier for the gene. She can transmit the gene to the next generation. So X0X, that will be a carrier female, or XOX will be a carrier female. Okay, what about a color? We have seen a normal man will have the genotype XY. And man cannot be a carrier man, because in man there is only one X chromosome, isn't it? If this X chromosome has the gene for color blindness, then the man is surely a colorblind man, colorblind male. Males cannot be carriers for color blindness because males have only one X chromosome, and if that X chromosome has the recessive gene for color blindness, he will be surely colorblind. Hope that much is clear to you. Now, what will be the possible genotypes of the offsprings of a normal woman and a colorblind man? So, what will be the genotype of a normal woman? Normal woman will be XX. What about a colorblind man? Colorblind man will be XOY. Y. Correct, no? Now, what are the gametes produced? All the eggs will have X chromosome. Okay. Whereas two types of sperms will be produced. Okay. Now we shall draw the Punnett square. Gametes of one parent on one side, X, X. Gametes of the female parent, and we are writing the gametes of the male parent here on the other side. Okay, always remember the gametes should be put in circle. Now the fusion, the products, what is the fusion product here? X, XO. Correct, no? Here again X, XO. Here X, Y, and what about this column? X, Y. So among the offsprings, half of the offsprings will be carrier females. This is a carrier female, this is a carrier female. And what about the males? All the males will be normal males. So here the gene for color blindness is transmitted from the father to the daughter. But daughter is not expressing the character, but she is a carrier for color blindness and she can transmit the gene to the next generation. Okay, so look at the options. Option A, XX and XY. Option B, XXO and XY. Option C, XX and XOY. And option D, XOXO and XOY. So what is the correct answer? X. Option B, XXO and XY. Hope it is clear to all of you. Next question, which among the following is not a hereditary trait? What is meant by a hereditary trait? A trait or a character which can be transmitted or which can be inherited from one generation to the next is a hereditary trait. Look at the options: eye color, skin color, blood group, table manners. Which is not a hereditary trait? Option D, table manners. It is through experience, through practice we achieve or we attain such type of behavior. Okay, so it is not a hereditary trait. Answer is option D, table manners. Which law states that when there are two pairs of contrasting characters, the distribution of alleles of one character into the gametes is independent of the distribution of the alleles of the other character? Which is the law? There are three laws of the laws of inheritance. You need to know the laws very clearly. Such type of questions can be expected for the exam. Okay. So options are: option A, law of independent assortment; option B, law of segregation; option C, law of dominance; and option D, law of purity of gametes. Okay, now if you look at the four options, you can clearly cancel out two options, law of segregation and law of purity of gametes, because both are one and the same thing. So there cannot be two correct answers for a question, isn't it? So you can clearly, at the first glance itself, you can rule out option B and option D. Now, what is law of dominance? Law of dominance is out of a pair of contrasting characters present together, one is able to express itself and the other remains suppressed. That is the law of dominance. Okay. When a pair of contrasting characters is present, one expresses itself while the other remains suppressed. So that is the law of dominance. Here, when there are two pairs of contrasting characters, two pairs, this is related with the dihybrid cross. Even though we don't have to study the cross, we have the law. We have to study the law. So this law, the law which states that when there are two pairs of contrasting characters, the distribution of alleles of one character into the gametes is independent of the distribution of the alleles of the other character is the law of independent assortment. Correct answer is option A, law of independent assortment. Next question, a simple diagram that helps to find out all the possible combinations of male and female gametes. Options are Mendel square, Punnett square, karyotype and Punnett cube. Answer is Punnett square. Possible combinations of gametes is represented by a symbol diagram, which is the Punnett square. Okay, now what is a karyotype? Karyotype it is a chart showing the arrangement of chromosomes in their order of size and shape. In the correct order, the chromosomes are arranged according to their size and shape. Such a chart is called as a karyotype. So here the answer is option B, Punnett square. Next question, which is not true with regard to the law of segregation? Okay, options are law of segregation is also called the law of purity of gametes. Okay, that is true. Members of a pair of factors separate during gamete formation. Okay, option C, members of a factor blend during gamete formation. And option D, alleles separate during gamete formation. So what does the law of segregation state? We know law of segregation is also called as the law of purity of gametes. So the first statement is correct. Without any doubt, we can say that the first statement is correct. Okay, now here the question is which is not true. So we have to find the statement which is not true with regard to the law of segregation. So moving on to the second option, members of a pair of factors separate during gamete formation. That is the law actually. The law of segregation states that the two members of a pair of factors separate during gamete formation. So okay, so that is true with the law of segregation. If suppose capital R and small r are present during gamete formation, capital R will move on to one gamete and small r will move on to the second gamete. So the members of this is a pair of factors, isn't it? Capital R and small r. The pair of factors, the members of the pair of factors, the members of this pair are capital R and small r. They get separated during gamete formation. That is true. So option B is also true. What about option C? Members of a factor blend during gamete formation. Blending means mixing. We cannot see any mixing up taking place there, isn't it? So the correct answer is option C. Just moving on to the fourth option, alleles separate during gamete formation. That is another way of saying the same option B. Option B is written in another way. That is what is given in option D. So the correct answer is option C. Members of a factor blend during gamete formation. Next question, which among the following is an exception to Mendel's law? Options are purity of gametes, dominance, mutation, independent assortment. Very easily we can say the correct answer is option C, mutation, because the other three are Mendel's laws of inheritance. The first law is the law of dominance, second is the law of purity of gametes, and third is law of independent assortment. So mutation is an exception to Mendel's laws. Alternative forms of a gene. Options are character, trait, allele, genome. Which is the correct answer? The correct answer is allele. Allele represents the alternative forms of a gene. Okay. What about character? What is a character? Any heritable feature of an organism is a character. Okay. Any heritable feature. For example, seed color is a character. What is a trait? Alternative forms of a character are called traits. When we took the example seed color, it had two different traits, the yellow seed color and the green seed color. So these are the traits. Alternative forms of a character are called traits. Now what is an allele? Allele, alternative forms of a gene are called alleles. And what is a genome? Genome is the complete set of DNA present in an organism. So what is the correct answer? The correct answer is option C, allele. Next question. Which among the following is the dominant trait for the character eye color? Options are black, brown, blue, grey. Which is the correct answer? The dominant trait for the character eye color is option B, brown. So with that, we come to the end of the session. Hope this session is clear to all of you. If you have any doubts regarding any of the questions which we have discussed during this session, do ask your doubts and give your comments in the comment section. Thank you.